Well, we can no longer be in denial. He's just not that into us. In fact, he left us and he took his Rams with him. Or did we run Stan Kroenke off with the way we run our region? Tonight we tackle two issues. What went wrong with the Rams and what's wrong or right with our fragmented form of government? Stay tuned.
Stay Tuned brings together local experts, journalists, civic leaders, and regular people to have tough conversations for a stronger St. Louis. Add your voice to our conversation, and you're at the table as we stay on top of current events and go deeper, bringing more light and less heat to the issues that matter. From the 9 network of public media in Grand Center, this is Stay Tuned.
It is a difficult process, and as Roger said, it is bittersweet. We understand the emotions involved of our fans, and it's not easy to do these things. They are purposefully made hard.
After years of speculation and months of wooing and worry, in just a few seconds, football left St. Louis. The St. Louis Rams are moving to Los Angeles, and Tuesday night, St. Louis social media erupted when the announcement was made. Multiple hashtags about the move have consistently trended on Twitter, posts ranging from funny to obscene as Rams fans express a sense of betrayal and anger towards Rams owner Stan Kroenke. Matt Seebeck said, "The Raiders just got extra credit for not turning in their homework. The Rams did a PowerPoint thesis with star-wipe transitions and flunked," referring to the proposed stadium in St. Louis and no real plan for a stadium in Oakland. When news hit the Blues game at Scott Trade, fans chanted Kroenke's name, not in a flattering way. St. Louis football fans are certainly feeling empty, but just what does losing an NFL franchise for the second time mean for the St. Louis region?
Alvin, Reid, STLmag.com is here with us. We're going to talk more at length about the Rams and what this means going forward next week. But we almost can't not talk about it, or at least it's what everyone is talking about it, because they feel how?
Well, I think there are some that feel betrayed by the Rams and the National Football League. I don't feel like that because I think it was pretty obvious to me 5 years ago, a little bit more than that. I started writing about it and talking about it on the radio, in that we need to do something now because of the way the lease is set up, that there is a chance that this man who's worth billions of dollars can move this team elsewhere. And those of us who were saying that at the time were laughed at and scoffed at. No way, no way, no way. All right, so action should have been going on at that time. Well, okay, it didn't happen. The silence should have been taken, as I wrote this week, as not silence, but like a rattlesnake. When you get close to it, you hear that the tail. Like it's there. He's telling us what his plans are. We should have forced him, called his hand, said, are you going to be here or are you going to not? And this was like 3 years ago or so. We never did it. It was too late. And you were saying, did we chase him out of the region? No, I don't think we chased him out of the region. I think he was running, but we left ourselves so far behind him that we couldn't catch him.
Let's go to a Twitter poll that we did earlier this week where, you said you're not surprised. 87% of respondents said they knew the Rams would leave. Does the lack of surprise you? Did we all know this was coming? And if so, why did we try so hard to keep him?
Well, we shouldn't have tried so hard to keep him, I think, because if everyone was corrected, like, I know he's going to leave, I know he's going to leave, that's some afterthought. If 87% of the people in this region and if 7% of the people who run this region truly believe there was no chance to keep the Rams, all this would not have gone forward. But what's frightening to me is I think people did know that it was such a long shot or maybe an impossibility. Why are we spending $17 million? And I think that needs to be explained. And I think every dollar and every place it went needs to be put out there for this region to know exactly what was it all about.
You're talking about the governor's task force with
yes.
Dave Peacock
yes.
and
yes.
Bob Blitz. Were they lied to? Do you think the governor, the mayor, did the NFL lead us on?
No, that whole they led us on and they lied to us, no. This was always going to be about a man trying to build a $2 billion stadium with his own money in Los Angeles, which will be able to host Super Bowls and do all kind of other events, Final Fours and things like that, against a stadium that was going to sit 62,000, would already put you in a place where you were 22nd. If you sold out every seat every year, but if all the other teams too, you'd be 22nd in attendance, okay? It was not up to that level. And I think that needed to be recognized from the day that the stadium was announced, and everybody was so excited, and sports radio people just all pandered to it and all that. And people really needed to ask difficult questions, and unfortunately, too few people were asking those difficult questions.
So what are the consequences? What are the consequences? We know the consequences if you're right that we didn't ask the right questions. What are the consequences now that he's left?
Well, I think, one, you can go back and try to say, like, what lessons are learned, all right? And like I said, where'd the money go? What do we learn from this? You could take care of that here in the next few months or whatever. But going forward, we have to stop being so reactive. We have to be proactive. We have to see what's going to happen. And we have to determine our own future. You know, it's not like I say, you said like you determine your own destiny. Well, destiny is what's going to happen to you, so you don't determine that at all. But what's going to be, all right, let's just say, for instance, let's just say today, we're going to build an aquarium, and we're going to build it on this spot. Let's put the time, the energy, the emotion into making that happen that we did to trying to keep a football team that seems like it was going to leave anyway.
Did we miss an opportunity to break up with someone we knew was cheating on us in the first place?
And move on and get another date.
Okay, let's take a trip back in time with me, if you
All
would,
right.
or Flashback Friday, as the kids would say. This is Donnybrook, and you may recognize the circumstances under which this discussion is had.
Life without pro football in St. Louis. Is it livable? I'll ask you, Rich Coster, do you miss the Big Red?
I haven't even noticed that they're gone, honestly. I have not noticed.
And you made your living covering the Big Red for many years. Bill McClellan, what's your reaction?
I think this season is more fun. I mean, it's more fun and more profitable to root against the Big Red than it was to root for and bet on the Big Red.
And it's less frustrating not to have to put up with all these miserable defeats and so on. Ray Hartman, we know you're the greatest sportsman in town. Your reaction?
I resemble that remark. I've been a Big Red fan for really all my life, and watched the first game kind of not being sure who I was going to root for, and I was like jumping up and down laughing at the end of the game. I thought it was great, but I think it is a rather a rationalization to say we don't miss having pro football. I think we do economically and spiritually miss it.
I find myself rooting against the team that I root. I've seen all 3 games so far from Phoenix, and I find myself rooting against these same Cardinals I rooted for, and I really feel bad, but I for some reason, I guess I'm getting even now because they left St. Louis.
Well, we can tell Ray has always been fashion forward.
There you go.
But other than that, so here we are. History has repeated itself. Are we any positioned any differently as a city to handle this? How will we move forward compared to the first time, perhaps?
Well, I think we have some issues that we didn't have then. Obviously, crime was a problem then, and it is now. But I think we've come to a point where there are some real things that we have to address. How do we come together as a region? And I know we're about to talk about that a little bit more now, and just what are the best things to go forward? That needs to be discussed. I will say this, that I didn't live here in 1987. I was a business editor at Atlanta State Journal at that time in Michigan when the team left. I was moving back to St. Louis right when the Rams came. In fact, the day I moved back to St. Louis to stay was the day they announced the deal that the Rams were going to come here. But when I was crushed, really, was when that team went to Jacksonville. Because I lived on the East Coast then, and when they said Jacksonville, not St. Louis, that really hurt me. That was the only thing that I just don't get it. Okay, well now we've just lost another team. It's almost like maybe I'm just numb to it, but quite frankly, it's not nearly as bad feeling for me as it was when we didn't get the expansion team.
And it doesn't seem like there's any real momentum or at least there's no energy to even consider it now to rally the troops and go after this again.
Well, as I said yesterday on Donnybrook, I will say this, that if the phone rang tomorrow with all the tough talk coming out of the mayor's office, and it was Roger Goodell and said, like, hey, in 3-4 years, we're talking Toronto and another team, and we're going to add them, we would dive back in with a different plan, better thought out, no public money, hopefully. But I would say do it. I'd say go for it. Hey, what we got to lose?
Hey, listen, if we continue to extrapolate this relationship analogy, it might start to sound abusive. I'm not sure.
Oh, well, hey,
okay.
It's a rich girl, man.